The message that I want to share with you today, brothers and sisters, is entitled Wickedness in High Places. And of course, I got that subject from the biblical text in the book of Ephesians, the 6th chapter. The 12th verse. Here's what it says. And I'm reading from the Amplified Bible, which kind of exhausts that text a little bit. In fact, let's see, Karen, do you have your Bible with you? Read it from there, please, and then I'll read from here, see what the difference is.
For we wrestle not against flesh and blood.
For we wrestle not against flesh and blood. Our warfare, the stuff that we have to contend with, our enemy is not made up of flesh and blood per se, but go ahead.
But against principalities.
But against principalities.
Against powers.
Against powers.
Against the rulers of the darkness of this world.
Against the rulers of the darkness of this world.
Against spiritual wickedness in high places.
Against spiritual wickedness in high places. From the Amplified Version, it says it this way. For we are not wrestling with flesh and blood, contending only with physical opponents, but against the despotisms, against the powers, against the master spirits who are the world rulers of this present darkness, against the spiritual forces of wickedness in the high political supernatural sphere. It's deep. Before going any further in today's message, I want to do something with today's message that I have never done in any message. And that's give a disclaimer. Never did that before. The reason why I want to give a disclaimer is for your protection. You see, brothers and sisters, the powers that be have a way of trying to make you and I one. Simply because you are part of this ministry. The powers that be, if they decide to do so, can say that they are all a part of the same club, or whatever he says, that's what they do. Y'all following me? Yes. How many of y'all remember David Koresh? Yes. Waco. Y'all remember that? Yes. The government, by the time they finished with it, all of y'all thought it was a cult. There was nothing cultish about Waco. Waco was a group of people who fellowshipped on the same compound where they owned, I repeat, they owned the land. On their land and in their context, they had their own system of behavior and government. David Koresh encouraged his people to buy weapons. Why not? But by the time the government finished with it, they were stockpiling weapons, and the government cannot allow that to happen. You know why? Because if the government should decide to invade that private property, y'all with me so far? Am I talking too heavy for you? Don't get scared now. I'm trying to understand, get you understand why I'm getting ready to give a disclaimer here, okay? Okay? If the government decides to invade that private property, which they did, and they decided to defend themselves, Well, the best way for the American people to say that the government should have done that was for them to convince you that David Koresh was a cult. Not one of you in here know anything. You've never been to Waco to see their organization. But yet, you believed what CNN told you, didn't you? Look at the person next to you and say, we're all media babies. CNN says it, you take it and run with it. How many of y'all remember Jim Jones? I remember when I got the email from somebody in the government talking about, we got a report that y'all are a Jim Jones Black Panther type organization. And they requested that we investigate y'all. Ain't that deep? Well, what was bad about Jim Jones? How many of you, did anybody in here know him personally? Ain't that deep? Did anybody in here ever meet him? Ain't that something? Did anybody in here ever heard him teach? If you did, raise your hand. You heard Jim Jones teach? Oh, okay, all right, okay. So now, having said that, let me ask a question and be honest. Come on, let's be honest here today, all right? Let's be honest, get over this. How many of you here honestly believed that he had a cult? Come on, raise your hand if you're going. Yeah. Why did you believe it? Because CNN said it. Because the media said it. Now let me tell you the truth about Jim Jones that CNN didn't tell you. Number one, Jim Jones, before he became a preacher, he worked for the Central Intelligence Agency. This is what CNN didn't tell you. Jim Jones participated in genocide programs of this government while working for the government. So when he went into the ministry, knowing how this government is, he said, let me get my people and move out of this country. Y'all following me? And they took his congregation and they raised money and bought land in Guyana. Where he went down there outside of the borders of this country and set up his movement of liberating his people. Are y'all following me? This is what CNN did not tell you. Well, he started teaching his folk what the government's doing. His people start communicating to their friends and relatives what the government's doing. You can't have an ex-CIA agent exposing all this. So guess what the government had to do? They had to shut him down. Can't just go down there and kill innocent people now, can you? So what do you have to do? A CIA black operation became a mass murder operation where this government went to Jonestown, Guyana and slaughtered all of these people and told us on the news that Jim Jones had them to swallow cyanide. Look at the person next to you and say, they really want everybody to think those people didn't have a mind of their own. Let me tell you how deep it goes, y'all. There are people right here in St. Louis, Missouri that telling people y'all ain't got a mind of your own. Y'all see the control mechanism? That's some deep stuff. Let me prove my point. I don't know how many of y'all ever saw pictures of the Jonestown tragedy of People's Temple. That's what it was called. Of the dead corpses laying there. All of the dead corpses were laying side by side, lined up with their arms around each other. All neatly laid out. Look at the person next to you and say, nobody dies in that position from cyanide poisoning. Think, people. When you drink cyanide, Elder Jones, that is one of the most painfully abdominal experiences you ball up into a knot and die. But these people were all laid out side by side like they all just drank and hugged each other and fell flat on their face dead. No, the government arranged those bodies that way. And autopsy showed that most of them had a small puncture mark at the base of their skulls. What movie said, if people hear it and see it, they will believe it? I think that was Swordfish. You didn't see that movie? Go get it. So my disclaimer today is, what I'm about to say, for those of you out there who would dare find a reason to try to stop what we're doing, what I'm about to say is my opinion and my opinion only. It's the result of my personal research and not necessarily the views and opinions of those who are members and or supporters of the Afrikan Village. So if y'all want to get on somebody, get on me. Now, having said my disclaimer, let me get into my message. There's this guy called Michael Brown. He ain't in the Bible, y'all. Michael Brown, according to CNN, is most likely the most incompetent stooge employed by the United States government. I wonder about that. You see, Michael Brown was the director of FEMA that was reassigned. And I wonder why he was really reassigned. Is it that he didn't know how to follow orders? Because that's all they do anyway. Everybody in government service, that's all they do, is they follow orders from the top. They do what they're told. But maybe the brother, well, he ain't really a brother, but you know what I mean. Maybe the dude chose to do the right thing. You can't do the right thing under George Bush's administration. Okay, you got to understand this. You see, he refused to release supplies, the National Guard troops, the construction equipment, and then ordered the Superdome locked. Y'all know what I'm talking about, right? Y'all ain't that far removed from what's happening. I'm talking about this mess going on down in New Orleans and what have you, okay? He ordered the Superdome locked and turned back anybody who's trying to escape. Everybody look at the person next and say he was following orders. When it comes to political activity, brothers and sisters, ain't none of it accidental. Please understand that. It was a deliberate attempt by the Bush administration to blackmail the state of Louisiana into handing the city of New Orleans over to the federal government. Now let me explain something to y'all. Let me tell you how this works. Everybody was saying, why isn't the military going in there and rescuing people? Well, see, there are three levels of government. There's the local level, the state level, and the federal level. The military is the federal level. And the mayor of the local city does not have the authority to bring in federal troops. Y'all follow me? Guess what? The state governor, the state level does not have the authority to bring in federal troops. The only thing the state governor can do is ask the federal level to send the troops in. But the only way they're going to do that is if the state governor turns the state over to the federal level of government. How many of y'all heard Nagin when he was talking about Bush and the governor having a meeting? Y'all remember when he said that? And he said, you know, I left them in the meeting. See, he had to leave the meeting at that point, because see, he wasn't big enough. He wasn't on the level to sit in on that meeting. So he had to leave at that point, and he told them when he left, listen, I don't care what y'all do something. Am I making sense, people? That's how crisis creation works. Crisis creation is let us go in and create a catastrophe so that the people will holler, y'all do something. We don't care what you do, just do something. The local level could not handle this crisis. The state level could not handle this crisis. But the reason why the military had not gone in there is because the governor, the sister, did not want to turn the state of Louisiana over to George Bush. Because she knew if I turned Louisiana over to this fool, we will never get it back. I got to tell y'all the truth here. Y'all need to understand how this works. That's why I say we cannot allow ourselves to be in the position to have to ask the government for anything. And we don't need to be in that position. It's not that these people don't want to leave their homes. These people don't want to lose their land. It's not just the house, it's the land that the house is on. It may not be much, but it's theirs. Shortly before midnight of one of the nights of last week, the Bush administration delivered an ultimatum to Louisiana Governor Kathleen, is it Blanco or Bianco? Which one is it? Is it Bianco? Bush, and again, this is where Nagin had to leave the meeting. All right, Nagin, number one, you the wrong color to be in on this meeting. That's number one. You just the mayor here. You just the puppet here. The decision that we get ready to discuss now, you might end up with the rest of your people detained somewhere. So we can't have you in on this meeting because we cannot afford you leaving this room blowing the whistle. Because at this point, this black man didn't care anymore about government procedure. And like I said on the radio, you ain't heard too much of him lately, have you? No, that's right. So Bush says to Bianco, I already have all of the military troops ready, poised, fueled, locked and loaded, ready to go. All you have to do is turn the state of Louisiana over to me. You want us to go in and get these people? We'll go in and bring the aid they need, but not until you sign the state of Louisiana over to me. Bianco said, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. We're sitting back because we don't know what's going on behind the scenes, getting mad because the army ain't there. But for the federal forces to go in, that means the state got to be under federal control. Do y'all understand what I'm saying? And then what's really deep is how they have played with these people. Like they played with y'all too. They played with these people and got them thinking that there's some hope that their insurance is going to pay for their situation. Because their insurance policy covers hurricane damage. But this is being written off as flood damage. Y'all hearing me? So when they put in their claims to get reimbursed for everything they lost, the claim will be denied because it is classified by the government as flood damage, and people can't get flood insurance in a flood risk territory like New Orleans. Y'all understand why I'm a little indignant here today? You know why? Because they're getting ready to play that same game all over this country. Who's gonna be next, y'all? So, since Bianco wouldn't sign the state over to George Bush did what he does. He took it. You see, here's how that happens. In fact, y'all, let me find my stuff here. Sunday, September 4th, Washington Post, quote, behind the scenes, a power struggle emerged as federal officials tried to wrest authority from Louisiana Governor Kathleen Bianco. Shortly before midnight Friday, the Bush administration sent her a proposed legal memorandum asking her to request a federal takeover of the evacuation of New Orleans. A source within the state's Emergency Operations Center said Saturday. The administration sought unified control over all local police and state National Guard units reporting to the governor. Louisiana officials rejected the request. Y'all hear this? They rejected the request after talks throughout the night, concerned that such a move would be comparable to a federal declaration of martial law. Some officials in the state suspected a political motive, tell me about it, behind the request. Quite frankly, if they'd been able to pull off taking it away from the locals, then they could have blamed everything on the locals, said the source, who does not have the authority to speak publicly. A senior administration official said that Bush has clear legal authority. I say it again. Bush has clear legal authority to federalize National Guard units to quell civil disturbances under the Insurrection Act. Now, be honest with me. Be honest. How many of you here knew or know about the Insurrection Act? Look around. See how many hands are up. You get me? See our problem? Didn't I tell y'all? Our problem is we are good law-abiding citizens, but we are not law-appropriating citizens because we don't know the law. Once you know the law, you know how to prepare yourself for those who would dare misuse the law. So Bush went around Bianco. You don't want to sign the state over to me? You're not requesting a federal takeover? Not a problem. I'll implement my authority under the Insurrection Act and take the state from you. Louisiana did not reach out to a multi-state mutual aid compact for assistance until last Wednesday. An official from the Bush administration says the federal government stands ready to work with state and local officials to secure New Orleans and the state of Louisiana. Not just New Orleans, but the entire state. He goes on to say, and I quote him, "The president will not let any form of bureaucracy get in the way of protecting the citizens of Louisiana," like he really cares. Y'all all right? Yes. You sure? Yes. Then they turn around and mess with everybody. So you see, how does FEMA give out $2,000 debit cards? Unless it is now under FEMA's control. And it was really deep about it is they played this. See, you have to be, you understand a little bit of how the human mind works to understand the trauma that our people go through thinking they're going to get help. They've already been traumatized. So now the federal government says, we're going to give everybody a debit card of $2,000 to tie you over. And then everybody get that little piece of plastic and then come to find out, but your debit card ain't going to work. Why play with people like that? Do you know that's enough to make people start taking out their anger on each other? Yeah, they know that. That's the whole program. You get so angry, you got to hit something. So I might as well hit the person closest to me. I got so much information here, I can't hardly put it in order. Let me tell you what the Insurrection Act is. The Insurrection Act, here's what it says, and I quote, "Whenever the president considers," y'all hear this. Since you didn't know what it was, I'm getting ready to tell you about it. Whenever the president, who? President. Thank you. This is for the president to do. Whenever he considers that unlawful obstructions, combinations, and what in the world is combinations? Or assemblages, meaning people all together, or rebellion against the authority of the United States make it impractical to enforce the laws of the United States in any state or territory by the ordinary course of judicial proceedings, he may call into federal service such of the militia of any state and use such of the armed forces as he considers necessary to enforce those laws or to suppress the rebellion. Well, Brother Ray, now I heard what you said, but now how does that give him situation to take control in this matter? Number one, it says to make it impractical to enforce the laws of the United States, to suppress the rebellion. In other words, President Bush, follow this y'all, President Bush was ready to declare New Orleans an outlaw city, an open rebellion against the authority of the United States. Why was he ready to make that declaration? Because, number one, it had been hit by a devastating hurricane, which they might have created. I'm not saying they did. And don't take my word for it. Write this down if you haven't already done it. Make this note. Project HARP. Project HARP. H-A-A-R-P. That's the acronym. That's this big machine that this government got up in Alaska that they use to aim up into the sky, into the atmosphere, to manipulate the weather and cause hurricanes and cause storms. Don't take my word for it. This government has had this device for years now. They can aim it up into the air and do weather modification, or they can aim it down into the earth and cause earthquakes. It's called Project HAARP, H-A-A-R-P. It's right there in Anchorage, Alaska. Well, I don't believe this government would do no stuff like that. Like the brother who called in this morning. I don't fear the beast. I ain't telling you to fear him. I'm telling you be aware of how he works. Shucks. Don't fear the snake. Just understand that it's dangerous. Because it had been hit by a devastating hurricane. Why else would he do this? Because some of the people trapped, check this out now, because some of the people trapped without food or water or medicine or help for days had broken into stores to try to get something to eat. I'm going to be honest with y'all. If I was down there, I'd have broke into it also. I would have did whatever I have to do for the survival of myself and my family. I'm gonna drop this. See, we talked about this Wednesday night. I don't care if y'all, I don't care. Think about this. Why is it? Elder Jones, you're looking at me so intensely, so I'm gonna direct this question right at you. Why is it that the levee broke after the hurricane was over? Think, people. The levee was going to break. It would have broke from the force of the hurricane winds. It would have broke from the force of the waves hitting against it. Hurricane passed by. Levee's still in place. So, out of nowhere comes a barge who they still say they don't know who's the owner of it. A barge, like them big things that sail up and down the Mississippi River, plows into the levee and busts the levee. They didn't tell us that on CNN, no, did they? Let's tear down the levee and flood the city out and blame it on the hurricane. Because of unconfirmed, and I repeat, unconfirmed reports of snipers. You know, because see, when they told me that, I said, something ain't right with that. I mean, come on. Here you have a helicopter trying to rescue people. And you mean to tell me you're trying to rescue me and I'm going to shoot at you to keep you from rescuing me? Come on, people. Something don't make sense about that. But I understand it better now. When you see they were not to be rescued because it's all a part of a chaotic plan here. Bush and his boy. Guess some of y'all, anybody visiting here today for the first time? Let me see your hand. I'm sorry if I ain't preaching what you thought I was going to preach. Okay? I don't do that over here. All right? Don't do that. Okay? I'm trying to awaken the walking dead. Here you have this guy called Cheney, who owns Halliburton. Bush, his running mate, his buddy. And there's some deep stuff because Cheney was down in Louisiana. Bush said, I'm sending the vice president to Louisiana, like he was going down there on official business. No. He was going down on personal business for his personal greed. He went down to survey the area because Cheney, Bush, FEMA are all interlocked here to take a people's land away from them, relocate them, and turn it into a money-making attraction, whatever that might be. I'm almost out of time. I got 25 minutes left? Oh, okay, I got a little bit more time. Well, no, I don't have that much time on the videotape. I got 15 more. Having said that, understand, brothers and sisters, it's about money. The powers that be don't care about you at all. I was sharing this on the way here this morning with somebody who's not quite conscious yet. They called one, they called to order the tape I did on the show on FEMA, and I began to elaborate, but yet they didn't want to hear what else I had to say. They ain't quite conscious yet. So the person said to me, after requesting my tape on FEMA, they turned around and said, you know, Pastor Hagins, you gotta be sure that you give the people hope. If I didn't hear Pastor McFarland all over again, just go over there and give the people Jesus and some joy. So I said to the caller, I said, I understand that it's important that people have hope. I understand that. But something is wrong when we have to give them a false hope. And you know what she said to me? Well, at least that's better than no hope. I said, sister, keep me in your prayers. Goodbye. A false hope is better than no hope. And you know what? I'm going to be totally honest with you. I thought about that for about the next 5 or 6 blocks, and I said, you know, to a people who are sleeping, she's telling the truth. When you take a person's hope away from them, they have nothing. So now I'm faced with the dilemma of you having something. So you know what I've decided? I've decided that I'm going to tell you the truth. And if it snatches away your hope, then the rest is between you and God. But I got to tell you what's really going on, so that at least you can stop living in this placebo, injecting yourself with a Novocaine or a drug of choice. Make you high. So you don't know what's going on. Because I found out that there's some of our people who want to stay like this. So God sent me to put my foot in your butt. So you can get like this. And at least begin to come alive so you can hear something. And maybe if while you're in this state, even though you're still a little intoxicated with the white devil's program for your enslavement, at least you'll be able to think a little bit. saying? We're living in a society, like the brother said, that's why I add that poem on the show this morning. I realize that I'm a black man. I'm about to die because I'm a black man. Not because I'm a Christian, not because I'm a Muslim. You're about to lose your life because you're black. And the big picture says that by 2050, 4 billion black people must die. Whether it's in New Orleans, whether it's in the Congo, whether it's in Iraq, they don't care. Even here in St. Louis. I tell y'all the truth, man. For as long as I can, I gotta tell you what they don't want me to tell you. So that when you stand before the Creator, you won't stand there saying, well, I didn't know. I'm telling you, death is coming. And it ain't no angel. He's white as I don't know what. Ain't no big winged creature coming. No, this is United States government activity. And if we don't prepare ourselves, brothers and sisters, a lot of us are going to be caught off guard. Shucks. How much time I got? 9 minutes? Oh, okay. I got too much stuff here, y'all. This organization, FEMA, has been in place for a long time with some long-range goals. Y'all might not believe what I'm saying, but do you realize that there are a whole lot of preachers who cannot stand up and say what I'm saying today? It ain't that they don't know. They can't stand up. You know why? Because they've been bought by George Bush. How many of y'all remember just a few years ago, I told y'all this faith-based program that George Bush is issuing out to pastors? All those monkeys that bought into this program and have built their new churches with government money, they better not stand up and say what I'm saying. Because the government will come in and take everything they got. Liberation ain't free. The brother said it. But you can rest assured, if you sell out, you better get enough to buy yourself back. You hear what I'm saying? Here we are, victims in an evil land. And don't look, listen, don't think that that's far removed from us. I don't mean just geographically, I mean situationally. Their agenda is to remove all power, all possessions from black people, so that you won't have no choice but to be placed in gumbo. Pastor, what's gumbo? I don't know what gumbo is. What's gumbo, Steve? I know it's a correctional facility. What is it?
Gumbo is a St. Louis County facility that used to house inmates. They closed it down. They're getting ready to open up gumbo again to house a lot of the evacuees from Louisiana out there in the jail. Right?
Did y'all hear this? They are reopening gumbo, which is a jail. to put black folk from New Orleans in there.
What a name.
Y'all hear what I'm saying? Now, again, I got to say like Will Smith said in the movie I, Robot. Somehow or another, I feel like I told you so, just ain't getting it. Listen, brothers and sisters. They are already prepared to not only put us in gumbo, but in every other facility that's already been prepared. It's in operation order, and it's already staffed for our incarceration. And you know what? They'll do it under the disguise of a disaster so they won't say you broke the law. You in jail, but you didn't commit a crime. So many thousands of black people, y'all, have been relocated, and folk have no idea where they are. Because the government won't even tell folk where they've been relocated to. Wickedness in high places. This is an evil country. It's a wicked country. It's a land of opportunity, but it's a wicked country. And again, the reason why this country is as wicked as it is because those to whom God has given the responsibility to stand up and cry loud have sold out for political favors, for money. Greed, thank you. But I got some comfort to give you today. I do have a little bit of hope just dropped on me to give it to you. The ancestors stand with us. And in my spirit, I can hear my ancestors saying, keep on telling it like it is, boy. I just heard my mom. She said, I don't understand what you're teaching. But you keep on teaching it. Oh, man. This is real, family. I'm not playing. We got to get serious. I close on this note. Try to let your seriousness rub off on somebody, please. I think it was Sister Karen, I told her either yesterday or the day before yesterday, I said, Karen, sometimes I get discouraged. Because sometimes I sit up all night trying to prepare truth for our folk, trying to prepare a good meal for our folk, and they get an attitude, I'll show up this Sunday, I ain't going to show up this Sunday, I'll show up this Sunday, I ain't going to show up this Sunday. Sometimes make me want to say, y'all ain't serious. But for those of you who do show up, you are my strength. Everybody need to be more committed. We ain't got time to be playing. Not for me, for you. God sent me here for you. To try to awaken this place. Because it's coming, man. As sure as I'm standing here, it's coming. Will you be ready when it comes? Ashe.